Imagine for a moment that the skeptics are right. Imagine that 2,000 years ago, a wandering carpenter from Nazareth was executed by the Roman state, and that was simply the end. Imagine that his body rotted in the earth, his name became a footnote in a forgotten census, and the hope of the world evaporated the moment the centurion's spear pierced his side. If that were true, the video you are watching right now wouldn't exist. The cathedrals that pierce the skylines of Europe wouldn't exist. The very calendar you use to track your life wouldn't exist. Most people, even many Catholics, view the resurrection as a beautiful, pious story, a metaphor for spring, or a symbol of new beginnings. But today, we are stepping out of the realm of metaphor and into the cold, hard light of history. What if I told you that the resurrection is not just a matter of blind faith, but the most well-evidenced event of antiquity? What if the evidence is so staggering that even the most hardened secular historians are forced to admit that something happened on that Sunday morning that defies every law of nature we know? Today, on Catholic Foglight, we are conducting a forensic and spiritual investigation. We aren't just looking for a ghost. We are looking for the king. But before we look at the empty tomb, we must first look at a piece of evidence hidden in the letters of a murderer. And most Catholics do not realize how close we are to the actual moment of the miracle. The enemy's confession, the Damascus mystery. To find the truth, we don't start with a believer. We start with a man named Saul of Tarsus. Saul was not a seeker. He was a professional. His job was the systematic destruction of the early church. He watched the stoning of Saint Stephen with approval. He was a man of logic, law, and violent conviction. Yet, within a few short years of the crucifixion, this man, the resurrection's greatest enemy, became its greatest champion. Modern historians, including the world-renowned Dr. Gary Habermas, point to a specific historical gem found in St. Paul's letter to the Corinthians. It's a creed, a rhythmic, oral tradition that Paul says he received. Scholars, including atheists like Gerd Ludemann, admit this creed dates back to within 2 to 3 years of the crucifixion itself. This is a historical lightning strike. In ancient history, legends usually take centuries to develop. But here, the message that Christ is risen was being sung and recited while the blood on the cross was practically still fresh. Have you ever felt like an enemy of God? Have you ever felt that your past is too dark for the light of the resurrection to reach? If Christ could transform the man who was killing his followers into the man who would write half the New Testament, what can he do with your life today? But even with the testimony of an enemy, there is a physical problem. A body was missing, and the theory of how it disappeared is something the church has warned about for centuries. The empty tomb, forensic reality versus fable. Let's talk about the body. The Romans were experts at death. When they took a man down from a cross, they weren't guessing. The spear in the side, the blood and water. This is a medical description of a ruptured heart and pleural effusion. Jesus was dead. So where did he go? The oldest counterargument, found in the Gospel of Matthew, is that the disciples stole the body. But let's look at the minimal facts. These men were cowards. They fled at the Garden of Gethsemane. Peter denied him to a servant girl. Why would 11 cowards suddenly invent a lie that they knew would get them tortured, crucified, and beheaded? You might die for a lie that you believe is true, but no one dies for a lie they know they fabricated. The church teaches us that the resurrection was a physical reality. Jesus wasn't a spirit or a memory. He ate fish on the beach. He let Thomas put his fingers into the wounds. What this means for your soul may surprise you, because if the resurrection is physical, then your own suffering, your physical pain, your aging, your illness has a different ending than you think. The Shroud of Turin, the snapshot of the resurrection. Now we come to the most analyzed artifact in human history, the Shroud of Turin. For decades, skeptics called it a medieval painting. But science has a problem. There is no paint. There is no dye. There are no brushstrokes. The image is cadaver perfect. It shows a man who has been scourged exactly 120 times, crowned with thorns, and pierced in the side. The image exists only on the very top few microns of the fibers. It's as if a burst of high-frequency radiation, a light more powerful than any laser, scorched the cloth from the inside out. Dr. Habermas has often noted that the shroud isn't just a burial cloth, it's a receipt. It's the physical record of the moment the light of the world literally became light. When you look at the face on the shroud, you aren't looking at an artist's rendition. You are looking at the face of a God who loved you enough to let his heart be physically broken for you. But as powerful as the shroud is, there is a new kind of evidence emerging in modern hospitals that echoes the resurrection in ways scientists can no longer ignore. Beyond the brain, the evidence of the soul. In our modern era, we are obsessed with proof. And strangely, God is providing it in the most unlikely place, the intensive care unit. Dr. Habermas has spent years documenting near-death experiences, NDEs. He speaks of cases where patients are brain dead, with no electrical activity, yet they return with verified information, describing tools used by doctors in other rooms, or repeating conversations held miles away. This isn't just brain chemistry. This is the soul. It proves that the you who is watching this video is not just a collection of cells. You are an eternal being. Jesus was the first fruits. His resurrection wasn't a one-time magic trick. It was the opening of a door. If the soul survives the brain, then the resurrection of the body is not just possible. It is the logical conclusion of a God who loves his creation. Most Catholics do not realize that the strongest evidence for the resurrection is actually found in the one thing we all fear the most: our own mortality. The climax, the bridge to eternity. We have looked at the creeds. We have seen the empty tomb. We have examined the radiation on the shroud and the testimonies of those who have seen the other side. But why does this matter for you? Today, in the middle of your daily fog, it matters because if Jesus is risen, then death is a liar. It means that the child you lost, the spouse you buried, the health you are losing, none of it is the final word. You were not made for a grave. You were made for a throne. The resurrection of Jesus is the foglight that cuts through the darkness of our suffering. When you feel like you are at the end of your rope, look at the cross. But don't stop there. Look 3 days past it. The historical evidence tells us that the resurrection is a fact. The spiritual evidence tells us that the resurrection is a promise. The church has warned about this for centuries. Don't live like a person who is going to die. Exist like a person who is going to rise. My dear spiritual family here at Catholic Foglight, we are not just a channel. We are a community of souls seeking the light in a world that loves the dark. The evidence for the resurrection demands a response. You cannot see the truth and remain the same. If this investigation has strengthened your faith, or if you are still searching and want to find the light, I invite you to subscribe to Catholic Foglight. We are on this journey together. I want to hear from you. What is the stone in your life that you need God to roll away? Leave your prayer intentions in the comments below. Let us, as a family, pray for one another. The fog is lifting. The sun is rising. If this message touched your soul, subscribe to Catholic Foglight because the next message may be exactly what heaven wants you to hear.